I told you at the beginning of the year, we're going to try to focus on some guests who can help us reach our goals. One specifically as it relates to preventative medicine and maintaining good overall health. How do probiotics fit in? I want to introduce you now to George Paraskevakos. He's Executive Director of the International Probiotics Association. Good morning, George.
Thank you for having me this morning.
We're talking about something today that has for a long time been of great interest to me, and I've wanted to delve into it more. We're talking about probiotics. So what led you to become the Executive Director of the International Probiotics Association? And what do you guys do?
Thanks, Roxanne. My favorite subject as well. But the International Probiotics Association is a nonprofit. It was founded back in 2001 and is the collective voice of the probiotic industry internationally. Our mission is basically to promote the safe and efficacious probiotics across the globe. We publish many articles. We outreach to many different stakeholders. We talk to governments. We educate healthcare professionals and consumers for the industry. Personally, myself, I've been involved in the industry since 2007, have sat at the board of this nonprofit, and basically have taken over its leadership back in 2015.
And George, I have to ask you, it's interesting because we hear so much about probiotics. I've read some books on gut health. We know how important there's a connection there between your stomach and your brain and your stomach and your overall health. What do you think about probiotics in terms of the hype? And we know they're popular. Does the science back up the importance and the benefits?
That is a good question, and there is definite science behind it. I always say let your gut be the barometer of your health. See how you feel through your gut. But from there, what is definitely, that I can definitely say is probiotics are backed by the science. We published articles ourselves, and maybe a few months ago there was a research paper showing that there's over 1,600 clinical trials that have been conducted with probiotics in humans, and over 700 different types of indications were looked at. And then over and above that, there's also a database from the National Institute of Health in the U.S., and if you type probiotics in the search bar there, you'll see over 20,000 articles that have been published in the space. So lots of science for many different indications in many different areas.
So, George, let's talk about specific benefits. Of all that you've read and researched, what do you find to be the most beneficial about taking probiotics, the right probiotic supplements?
So the classical indications, and still what resonates the most with the consumers, which actually take probiotic products, and even the healthcare professionals now, they're starting to understand and even, recommend to their patients, is gut health and immune support. These are the two areas that have been researched probably the most when it comes to probiotics. But over and above that, what we're starting to see now is the research that we discussed earlier, a lot of, a lot of science that's going in that's showing that gut-brain health, metabolic type conditions, skin allergy, oral health, women's health. There's all this fun science, and actually science showing how probiotics can definitely, support in these areas.
So is it better to get probiotics from the actual foods you eat, or is it better to take a supplement? Because I know they're in foods like yogurt and kimchi. But do you want to ingest those foods, eat those, make it part of your diet, or take a supplement, or both?
So this is a question that comes up all the time. While certain foods and beverages like the yogurts and kimchis, pickles, kefir, all these, great foods that contain good bacteria, beneficial bacteria, can assist in diversifying your microbiome. You have to look at the label to confirm, that these foods contain probiotic bacteria. Supplementing with probiotics, either through food or through a supplement, is something which, we recommend daily. But you need to make sure that the probiotic bacteria is actually in these foods. Probiotic bacteria are live microbes which are, have specific targets, and they're regulated over the FDA, FTC. They're meticulously identified and need to be backed by science. So not every fermented food or food contains probiotics, even if there are beneficial microbes. So check your label.
That makes sense. Now, what about when you're talking about different probiotics having different effects on you? Because it's my understanding also that you may be taking the wrong probiotic for your body specifically, that certain people require different types. How do you know what type your body is lacking or what type is going to be most beneficial to you?
So there are many different types of probiotic products that are, you see them on the shelf and they're marketed to very different genders and different age groups for different types of indications. First of all, I think you need, you have to tie the science back to the type of product the product tied to the science you are looking for. So match the strain or strains of the product benefit to the, to what you're looking for to achieve. Strain specificity always is tied to science. The other area where you have science tied to the benefit is also the CFU dose. You need to make sure that the science is definitely tied to the dose as well.
How do you know if probiotics, or do they ever expire?
Expiry is another question that, people have to think about. Probiotics are live organisms. They are, they have a shelf life, like milk, anything that you need to refrigerate. So there are probiotics which are formulated to be on the shelf, and that depends on what they're mixed with or blended with and how they're delivered in the types of formats. So you do have shelf-stable product, but at the same time, you have, refrigerated type product. I always say, just to make sure, to extend the life or to extend the freshness, I always put a probiotic in the fridge, whether it's a shelf-stable formulated product or not. And I always try to keep it next to, whatever you like to drink as a beverage, milk or juice or what have you in your fridge. It helps with reminding you to take one every day.
Is it possible to end up taking too many probiotics?
I get that asked as well often. There's not any known adverse events to taking probiotics or taking too much of probiotics. This science has shown that they are well tolerated, and there's not any adverse events. If you happen to take too much or introduce too many different types of bugs into your gut, there's been reported cases of mild bloating or gas, but that goes away. Just it subsides within a few days. Just persist and take it, because people tend to stop if something like this comes up.
So if you were giving recommendations to someone who said, I've never made probiotics a regular part of my diet, how would you have them start off on a probiotic regimen? And what times of the day are you supposed to take them on an empty stomach?
So this is there's no specific time of day. I would start with a general probiotic, which, has research behind general gut health or immune support. And these we find there's a lot of products out there. And in fact, our member on our website, they're vetted companies that put out quality products. But there's no specific time of day. Generally, what we like to say is it's good to take a probiotic after you've taken some food. Basically, it's reduced the acidity in your stomach and the pH levels, and then you have this window to actually help the probiotic get ingested and have the bacteria arrive to the place where it's going to, act the best, and that's in your gastrointestinal tract.
What about as far as the FDA is involved? They don't really regulate dietary supplements, so are probiotics regulated?
So that's a misconception. It's not a true statement. There is. People say there's no oversight from the FDA, but they're mixing the two main categories. FDA overlooks, and there is oversight for supplements, and there is oversight for drugs. So probiotics are supplements. So there is a lot of oversight from the FDA. From a quality perspective, you have the Dietary Supplement Health Education Act, which that in itself overlooks supplements and what you can say. And then you have the FTC, which also regulates what type of marketing claims. So there is a lot of oversight from many different government agencies in the U.S. The only thing is these are probiotic supplements, not pharmaceutical drugs. People tend to mix the two. A drug can kill you, hence that requires a much stricter government oversight.
George, I really appreciate your time today. If you can let our listeners know where they can go online for more information to find out more about probiotics.
Sure, Roxanne. A great place to start, I would say, is our website, the IPA website. It's internationalprobiotics.org. And we also have social media platforms on Twitter, on Facebook, LinkedIn, the International Probiotics Association. Lots of great information there, to look at, to download, and to obtain if you've got any questions on probiotics.
Well, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much. We appreciate it, George. Great job.
Thank you, Roxanne. Thanks for having me.
As we search for peace in our communities, our next guest, Edie Darling, is going to join us and help us bridge the gap between law enforcement and the communities they serve.